Easy Sports Talk Show with Ed Smith and Javon Adams. My name is Javon Adams. You can call me Jay or J Love. That man to my side is the one and only Ed Easy Smith. He played not only professional baseball, but also played in the National Football League for that first Super Bowl bound team for the Atlanta Falcons. He's an author, also a public speaker. He is a proud father. What is good, my brother?
Happy Friday to you, bro. Made it through another week, inching toward. We already got I guess you call it week 2 of the preseason. Kicked off last night. So, one more week after this, and then we got the little mini bye, and then we'll be in the football until February, man.
Football in terms of professional football and college football. And as always, because we've been working together for so long, you put it up on a T there. Came across something that on ESPN that essentially what's going on. Before we went to this, what is it? The field of 12 now, right? In terms of the college football playoff. Oftentimes when it came down to trying to figure out who was going to make it in that championship, in that 4-team playoff system, the conference tiebreakers, looking at some of those different things to see kind of where those teams would fall. Well, it was announced yesterday that the committee is not going to use those conference, the conference winners as tiebreaker and all those things. And I wanted to, did it ring to you? It made me think, the first thing it made me think was either they're going to be, and when I say the big one, I always forget Big 10, Big 12, which one is the better one. I think it's Big 10.
Big 10.
Big 10. But it makes me think that the playoffs will be comprised of mostly SEC teams, like a big number of SEC teams. Am I overblowing that? Or when you saw that, what did you think about when we're looking at the playoffs and how it's going to be a cash grab? It's not just about being a championship, but it's a cash grab for these schools as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And to be perfectly honest, Jay, this is eventually, in my opinion, going to turn. We've already seen the Pac-12 wither and go away. They still have their 2 teams, but we know that's going away. The Big 12 is more of a basketball conference, as well as the ACC. The Big 10 and the SEC, along with maybe the ACC trying to sneak a team or 2 in there. Eventually, this is going to turn into the SEC Big 10 Challenge. That's basically what it's going to be. And just to start the season off, the top 10, they've got the AP top 10, right? 8 of the top 10 teams are either SEC or Big 10. Then you got an independent Notre Dame snuck in there to make it 9. And at number 10 comes your first ACC team at number 10, right? Yeah. So, and that's just the early prognostication. Obviously, we know there'll be a lot of shakeup between here and December. But if you ask me, I mean, that's the writing on the wall. The way these teams are using the NIL, and then just the talent pool in itself. If you're a big-time college football player, you're looking to get into the SEC. That's where the biggest challenge is. There's where most of the talent's going, where most of the money's going as well. You got Texas and Oklahoma now sneaking over there, with all those other SEC teams, Georgia, Alabama, run down your list. And then the Big Ten is trying to keep pace. They're bringing over Oregon, Washington, USC, UCLA. They're trying to, keep pace. This is, like I said, you talk about money grab. This is, at some point, like I said, they're going to want to make us think that this is the best 12 teams. But, man, I mean, when it's all said and done, I don't care what tiebreakers you use. I don't care what formulas you use. One, your eye test is going to tell you it's going to be all SEC and Big Ten when it all comes down to it in the end. And the almighty dollar, obviously, is going to rule everything. But, I mean, it is what it is at this point. I don't even know how you can shake it out. When you think about the last 10 to 15 years of, NCAA champions, I mean, they've come from either the SEC or the Big Ten for the most part. I mean, we were joking a long time about the Pac-12, do they even compete now? And like I said, now we've seen them kind of taken apart, but it's all about money, bro. Yeah. And, the have-nots will have, and they're going to eat the rest of them. Now, I hear some of the other talking heads out there, at some point, they're going to go to more of like an NFL style, where by region, you're going to have the SEC East, whatever, the West, and break it up to regions where teams will play by their region and then come together as well in a whatever non-conference or something like that. But at this point, I mean, I'm just get rid of the numbers. Big Ten, it's been the Big Ten for about 20 years or so now. Big 12, I mean, it's like it's going to be a free fall, and we've already seen the writing on the wall, if you ask me.
And then when we know with the litigation in the ACC, what is it? I want to say, not Clemson. Yeah, Clemson wants to get out.
And Florida State.
Florida State wants to get out. And it's unfortunate. This is what you see. And when I say this, I'm for make as much money as you can. Make your money, do your thing, treat people right, that type of thing. But when your institutions are supposed to be institutions of higher learning, but it's all about the dollar. And so because of that, when you think of the regionality, the regional nature of how football's been from when I started following it anyway, it was like that for such a long time where, the Pac-10 at that time, when I began kind of paying attention to things, the Pac-10, these are schools in the West Coast. It's so when you thought of the SEC, you think of these different conferences, and it was the Big East. They were made for a reason, and now all of those are lost. And I think what's going to happen is, and I think we've already reached that inflection point, is that the passion that alumni or just fans of certain schools feel for when football comes around is going to get lost, and it's going to get lost, and you're never going to be able to get it back because that machine will have really gone into it'll start to kind of feed itself. You'll never be able to put the genie back in the bottle and all those other type of terms that people use. And this is unfortunate because if nothing else, we knew that there were only a handful of teams when it came to that were eligible for maybe a national championship. But then you are really saying to 280 some odd schools, you have no chance in hell to be able to get in here and try to make a run. Even if it was some type of Cinderella story, whereas you have with the NCAA tournament, where sometimes you have a team that might win a game or two, or a team that even might make it to the Final Four, and just the buzz and the energy that creates. But these schools are saying, no, we don't want those outliers. We want things to be as predictable as possible to bring as much money into, in this case, the Big Ten and or the SEC as possible to continue to line our coffers.
Yeah, and for anybody who's followed college football just as long as I have, had an opportunity to at one point being highly recruited and all that kind of stuff. It was all about the tradition back in the day. It was about your conference, the biggest matchups in your conference, in the Big Ten, your Penn State, Michigan, and that's all going to be so watered down and diluted when you start adding all these teams from around, not just, what the ACC, what does that stand for, Jay? Atlantic Coast Conference, right? Yeah. That meant up and down the Atlantic coast. That's all of our teams, We can stray a few miles inland. Now we're going across the country. Just anybody. Well, it doesn't matter where you play or who you are. Come on and join the Atlantic Coast. The Pacific 12. Now you be on the West Coast. What we're going to lose is because these conferences are getting so big now with 16 teams, and they're going to get bigger, that some of those matchups that we've grown so accustomed to, they're going to be on rotation because everybody has to play everybody at some point, year in and year out. You're going to lose some of those big time matchups. You're going to sacrifice Michigan, Ohio State. I don't know if that one will ever go away. That's too massive. But at some point, the other schools, Washington, Oregon, and USC, they're going to have to get deep into the mix, and they're going to start taking away some of those classic the matchups. And for me, that was what college football was all about through the season. It wasn't about let's create the biggest bowl, and championship series we can get. Me personally, I would have liked if instead of going from 4 to 12, if they went from 4 to 8 and maybe kept some of the conferences together. The death of the Pac-12 we're going to look back on this one day, Jay, and we're going to say that's where it all started right there. Whatever we're heading toward, we're going to get to a point where we say that's where it all went, to hell in a handbasket. And it's sad because, like I said, it's all about that money now. And anybody that tells you different, they're just either fooling themselves or trying to pull the wool over our eyes and piss on our leg and tell us it's raining.
Yeah, there is something that a once in a while event such as maybe when Alabama played USC, right? There's something cool about that, right? But it just doesn't have the same type of punch and panache when you talk about Michigan playing USC pretty much every year, right? There's something different about that.
I'll give you a similar thing. When MLB went to all interleague play throughout the year, right? Mm-hmm. There was a time when the NL and AL never saw each other except for the All-Star game and then in the World Series. Now, every week, there's one or two interleague matches just because of the way they have everything set up, 15 teams on both sides. So every week of the year, there's an AL team playing an NL team. It loses its flavor. By the time when we watched the All-Star game this year, we were like, well, we're finally going to get no, wait a minute. They played during the regular season. Like certain matchups where you never would have seen back in the day, your Yankees matched up against the Mets, or that is so common now. And what's going to happen is that's exactly what's going to happen in college football, if you ask me. Those special moments, those special matchups are going to go away because, hey, they play each other during the regular season. It's like their 10th matchup in the regular season, and where before we never saw those matchups. We never saw an Oklahoma playing Georgia unless it was, in the championship series, whatever it was. But so now it's going to become, like I said, it's going to get so watered down, we're eventually going to become tone deaf to the fact that there are even any, great matches or anything we haven't seen before or rarely see. We're going to see it so much that it's, you become tone deaf to it.
Indeed. Easy Sports Talk Show. He is Ed Smith. I am Javon Adams. We do this thing 3 times a week on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So along those lines, I want to let's make the transition to professional football. We know years ago there was the controversy with the kneeling with Colin Kaepernick and all the things that resulted from that. And I think people taking it really the message that was trying to be sent. People decided, I think they actively decided not to hear. It's almost as if you tell somebody, this is the definition of what I mean. No, it's not. That's not the way I interpret it is this. Well, what you interpreted is wrong. But having said that, Colin Kaepernick hasn't been in the league for years and years. And he's been wanting to get back in the league, and this might be a topic for another time. He's been wanting to get back in the league, but get back on his own terms, meaning, I want to be a starter. Dog, your starting days are done. He's 36 years old, I believe, and you can't come in. Maybe you can come back and maybe compete for a starting position. But if you're start or bust, maybe you need to, maybe he's doing that on purpose to say, I want to start or not. They don't let you start. They don't sign you because they're not going to let you start. And you say, see, I'm just out here trying to make change, trying to make change happen. But Harbaugh, the new head coach for San Diego, for the Los Angeles Chargers, mentioned this week that he has spoken to Colin Kaepernick about becoming a coach in the NFL, and he hasn't gotten back to him yet. Harbaugh mentioned that he thinks that he'll be a really good coach. Your thoughts on Colin Kaepernick being a coach, or just, I think that he probably wouldn't do it because if he does it, that he admits that his run is done, that this part of his cause, I was going to say agenda, but this part of his cause is done. And so he has to really transition. And I think it would hurt his brand. And I could be way off base there, but I think one of the things that makes the mystique around Colin Kaepernick is because he doesn't talk a whole heck of a lot. And we just know what he wants to do when it comes to being, getting back in the NFL, but on his terms. I think he might be a good head coach. I mean, not head coach, but a good member of a coaching staff. But I don't know if he will take that. What do you think when I sent that your way, what were some of the thoughts that came across your mind when it comes to Colin Kaepernick?
Well, it seems like Harbaugh's trying to extend him an olive branch And it's almost like watching somebody in quicksand, bruh, and like you see them sinking. And on the outskirts, you see somebody reaching over, trying to help them out of it. And instead of them taking their hand, they keep thinking they can get out of it on their own. Mm-hmm. The more they struggle, the more they move around, the deeper they sink into this quicksand. And that's almost like, for me, what Kaepernick is doing at this point. At 36 years old, bro, I mean, you haven't played in probably a decade now. I mean, I don't even know how long it's been since all that controversy. He's been out of the league. This is not me coming back at 26 to play in the NFL or give it a shot. This is a dude that's 36 years old trying to so-called make a comeback. That ain't happening, man. That's not happening. The money that these quarterbacks are making, and one, we all know they're going out and getting younger models, cheaper models, where you can have them on, this rookie contracts and stuff like that. Nobody's looking for a 36-year-old quarterback who was good, but was he ever great? Okay, no, I don't think he was ever what you call great. But even if he was,
he was good to very good, but not great. Definitely not great.
So it's like at some point you have to stop being delusional, and you have to actually accept. One, you have to accept your fate where you are in your career, and you also have to accept that help, bro. But I guess until like I know with addicts, they have to admit they have a problem before they can get help. They can't, it's like I can't remember the old adage, but if you don't know you have a problem, everybody can tell you have a problem till the cows come home. But if you don't realize it, there's no point in trying to seek recovery. You have to admit, he still thinks he can play in this league after all this time of being away from the game and at his age. And for me, that's just delusional. At this point, if someone's offering you that branch to try to pull you out of the quicksand to get you back into the game, man, I'd be hugging Harbaugh. Thank you so much. Little humility, get me back in, and then let's see where I can go to the next level in this. But he doesn't see it that way. He still thinks, for him to still think, I've been working out, bro. I've been working out. I'm playing the league. Bruh, Kaepernick. This is the only thing I can equate it to because I've never got in between those on the gridiron, but I can equate it to this. Kaepernick is running on the treadmill saying, I can run that marathon. It ain't nothing, dog. I can run that treadmill. I mean, I've been on the treadmill. I've been doing it all this time. And then he hits the road and realizes, it's not the belt that's moving my legs for me. I got to move my legs for me for this whole 26.2 miles. It's different. Maybe you can run a marathon. You just got to get road work. And road work would have meant, okay, I'll come in and be that second string quarterback, and I'll show you based upon what happens. Now, he might be that bridge quarterback, meaning you're just going to get us through until we get the rookie all brought up to speed or something like that. But you're not going to come in and they say, here are the keys to the car. And to your point, a little bit of humility to say, maybe I'll transition and I can be an agent of change in the coaching ranks as opposed to what I'm doing now, which is on the outside looking in. Well, I'll be perfectly honest with you too, bro. What NFL owner, and we all know the majority of the owners, their ethnicity and their backgrounds and stuff like that, would invite his type of controversy into their organization? We all know if everybody is right, there was collusion, right? Yeah. They all banned against him to keep him out because of what he was standing for him.
I do believe.
Okay, I do too. So you're going to go to the same group that were saying they were colluding to keep you out. And now we're going to ask one of them, bring Colin in with all his baggage and everything else. Yeah. So you're going to ask a team to go hire this man who they all banned against to bring him in to be our bridge quarterback or whatever. Oh, that's just creating controversy. And those rich billionaire owners, one, they're not going to be told to do anything. And they want to keep everything as vanilla as they possibly can in all different ways. And for me, you know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And they're not inviting that into their home to spark up all the controversy and all that comes with Colin Kaepernick. So for him to think that it's just, hey, I just want to get back in the league, bro. There were some things that he did, wearing different socks and this and that, that immediately banned him from their league. Meaning, whoever had the power, they were not letting him back in that door. He shut that door on himself a couple times, and to open it back up, bro, I don't even know if there's a stick of dynamite that could get that door open at this point.
And now, as you mentioned, now you got an olive branch. Somebody saying, "We'll get you in a different way. Come in this way. Come in this way."
I left a side door open for you, bro. I mean, you didn't even got to buy a ticket. I left a side door open for you. Got it cracked just enough. They don't even know it's open. Just come on in, and we'll just do it quiet and go from there. And he, I want to still play in the league. To me, he's either self-sabotaging, meaning he really doesn't want to get back into the league, or he is really that delusional where he thinks what he once did was so great, was so outstanding that they just gotta come back and get me.
Self-sabotage is real, because I've told you a couple of times in terms of what in the last like 6 or 7 months, a couple things that I've done to self-sabotage. So self-sabotage is real, because some people are afraid of failure and some people are afraid of success, and that's real. So self-sabotage is a real thing.
Yeah. And who knows, maybe he's just so comfortable in what he's doing right now. I don't know how that man's making his money, but maybe he's making just enough to keep him happy, and he don't want to rock that boat. So, hey, I'll just say this and that, and I know they won't let me back in that way, and I'll just keep going on my own.
It's the dude that always says the wrong thing to the woman, and the woman will say, all you got to do is just not mess it up. Yeah. And he just keeps saying the wrong thing. So he is Ed Smith. I am Javon Adams. We do this 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Make sure you tell a friend about what we have going on. Go to easysportstalk.com, easysportstalk.com, or however you got to the show. Make sure you like, subscribe, rate as high as you can. And you can also go to our YouTube channel, The Easy Sports Talk Show.
Can I throw one thing out there, Bub, before you go?
You got it.
I'm in my the highlight of my year right now with the Little League World Series going on.
Yeah.
And I actually have to, I guess, express how disappointed I am in one factor in watching the first couple of days of the Little League World Series. And it's a microcosm of what's going on in our society, too, when it comes to MLB and different things, Thus far, there have been 4 games on Wednesday, 4 games on Thursday, international and the American teams, which means there's been 8 teams I've seen already from the American teams.
Yeah.
I have not seen one African-American kid on a roster yet. Yeah. And that is, to me, man, I mean, I played on teams where it was all black when I was a little kid, depending on what areas we came from, stuff like that. Yeah. The fact that you do not have one so far, and I'm looking at the last 2 teams, American teams today, hoping that we find a face that looks like ours. And what does that say about the game of baseball, where zero representation? I've seen a couple kids that had like Lil Tan and heard the last name Gomez or something like that. I'm like, damn.
That's from the diaspora, the Afro-Latin. But I get your point, and that's something we can let's take a deep dive on that on Monday, matter of fact. But to your point, and here's something that I'll say to that, is that, so we live here in Arizona. There have been a handful of athletes in hockey, and believe I'll circle it around, that have come from the state of Arizona because there was a concerted effort when the Arizona Coyotes were here to do things to get a groundswell of support, to get kids interested in hockey and youth hockey and this hockey rinks and all that stuff. And so as a result, it took years, but we started to see kind of the fruit come to the bearing of the fruit. And the same thing when you're talking about going to these areas where there are high concentration of African Americans and really starting the grassroots to try to get them introduced to playing youth baseball, to just playing like, the little league baseball, and then kind of going from there and really trying to get them to understand how their athleticism can transfer into other sports, including baseball.
All of these teams, I mean, because most of these teams are like travel teams. They're club team. So obviously, but just the fact that there's no representation, I'm asking myself, what is MLB doing about this as well? Because we all know their numbers have taken a nosedive over the last bunch of years as far as African American players in the big leagues. But these, like this RBI program that they've been throwing at us for the last decade, almost 2 decades, that's going to bring the African American kids back. I mean, if this is the result where we literally have zero representation in the supposedly America's pastime, when at one point in the MLB it was like high 20 percentile of African Americans just in the big leagues. That didn't count all the ones in the minor leagues trying to make it to the big leagues. And it's so sad for me to watch this game that I used to love so much and see not a one of me out there, trying to live that little dream to one day make it a big dream. And, it's sad, and, it really hit me yesterday as I'm going through each of the games. You think I'm BSing? People who listen, I've watched every game. I was out yesterday, recorded all 4 games. I got home and watched all 4 games yesterday. And, it's like, wow, it's really just a bad representation.
Those club teams, though, that is,
they cost money.
With club teams, with basketball, with baseball, with volleyball, with lacrosse. I mean, I'm just throwing some of those, you know what I mean? That's one of those where, in a terrible way, you're separating the wheat from the chaff.
Yeah, but not a one.
That chaff has some talent in it. If you could just, instead of trying to charge some exorbitant amount for a travel team, because you're missing out on having athletes, having influential, having difference-making athletes, young athletes, be a part of a game.
Yeah, it really is. It's just sad for me because, like I said, I know how much I used to love the game, and to see no representation from our culture in the game. Like I said, maybe see a couple out there in this last pairing of the 2 American teams, but thus far zero representation from the first bunch of teams. So, matter of fact, it's been 8 teams so far. So a total of 10 American teams by the end of the day today. And it'll, like I said, not one dark face out there.
Indeed. But again, he is Ed Smith. I'm Javon Adams. We'll see y'all next week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We're going to take a deeper dive into this because I think that it deserves it. But go to easysportstalk.com, easysportstalk.com. Follow us on all our socials, all that good stuff. And as we always like to say around this time, you can